Hi, Chef Laura here, and we are going to be making our holiday flavors breakfast enchiladas. This is a great recipe. It can be made the night before, refrigerated, and then just baked in the morning for a fast, easy, and delicious breakfast. And it's nice and big. You can feed a crowd with it. So the first thing that we need is 2 cups of shredded cheese. We're going to go ahead and put that in our bowl. We're going to use 6 ounces of chorizo. This is really amazing chorizo. This is already cooked. If you want to go ahead and just use the raw chorizo, you do want to cook it before you put it in here, just to make sure that it's completely cooked when this is done. So I've got my cheese, I've got my chorizo. You can also use a vegan chorizo. You can find it in the freezer section of the grocery stores if you don't want to eat the actual animal products. And then we need 1/3 cup of sliced green onions, which is about 3 onions. Much easier to just count out 3 onions. We want those sliced nice and thin. I'm not going to measure them when I'm done because I know that 3 is 1/3 cup. If you want them a little bit smaller, you can just go through, give that another little cut through. I like the green parts of green onions, so I go ahead and use it. These have been pre-trimmed, pre-washed, so everything's ready to go. If you don't want so much, well, that's actually quite a bit more than 1/3 cup, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. Get that put in there. And we're going to also have about 1/3 cup of chopped red bell pepper. Red bell peppers are sweet, and it also gives a nice color rather than the green. They're milder and sweeter than the green. When I am cutting and prepping a bell pepper, I cut straight through that. And then you can just pop this stem, okay, right out, and you've got pretty much usable product. I go ahead and take out this extra part of the ribs. That can just be a little bit bitter. And then again, we want 1/3 cup. I can go ahead and use this measure. And we want a nice small dice, which is about 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to slice these into 1/4 inch slices. And again, I'm just going to trim off that white pithy part. Does not always have the best flavor. And then we are going to chop this into our nice small dice. If you're happy with the size of your dice, you are done. If you want it a little bit smaller, again, you can just run that knife through this, get it just a little smaller. We'll go ahead and you can use a dry cut measure for this as well, but since I already have this here, let's go ahead and be efficient and only get one thing dirty. If you love bell pepper, you can put a little bit more than 1/3 cup. If you don't like it, you can skip it. But personally, I think it's delicious. I'm just gonna, oh, we're almost there. I'm gonna do one more slice. I'm a bell pepper lover. I want to make sure that there's that full 1/3 cup in there. We'll just real quick get this little slice right here chopped up and put in here. All right, so that goes into our mixture. We're going to toss this together. And then get it nice and evenly mixed. All right, now we're going to fill the corn tortillas. I'm going to go ahead and leave my cutting board here. If you have a big space, you can set the 12 tortillas out and then you can just divide it evenly. Don't really want to put them all over the tablecloth here, so I'm just going to do 2 at a time. Fresh tortillas, straight with a just freshly opened package, will probably roll up just fine. If they're breaking on you, you can microwave them in between some damp paper towels, and that will soften them up a little bit. The other thing is, if they break just a little bit, it doesn't really make that much difference. It's a casserole and it's going to be delicious either way. I'm going to go ahead and spray the pan a little bit so that it doesn't stick. And these are nice and full. You've got a good amount of filling in there. And I just roll that up and set it seam side down in your pan so that they stay together. So we're going to do all 12 of these, get them in the pan, and then we will go ahead and move on. We've got all of the enchiladas rolled and in the pan. Just going to go ahead and do the egg mixture to pour on top, and they will be ready to either pop in the refrigerator or pop in the oven, whichever you would like to do. So for this part, we have 6 large eggs. If you want to lower the fat and the cholesterol, you can use 10 ounces of egg whites, and if you don't eat eggs at all, you can use 10 ounces of an egg substitute. Then we are also using 1.5 cups of milk. Again, this can be any kind of milk. It can be oat milk, almond milk, dairy milk, whatever you would like to use. We also have about 1/3 cup of salsa in here. If you want more, you can go ahead and use a little bit more, but don't use too much because you don't want to ruin the ratio. If you like more salsa, serve it alongside. It will be absolutely delicious. I'm going to go ahead and get that in there. Use whatever kind of salsa you like, mild, medium, hot, whatever your family prefers. Then we've got 1 tablespoon of flour. This can be all-purpose flour. It can be gluten-free flour. You do want to use, again, a substitute for a regular flour. If you use a gluten-free, a cup for cup. It's a little bit of thickening and a little bit of binding. And that is all that we need to get in here. I'm going to get this whisked up. You're just making sure that you get those egg yolks broken and that you get this nice and mixed together well. If you don't get those eggs mixed up really well, the texture will be a little bit off, and you want it nice and smooth when you eat it. And then this is just going to get poured right over our casserole dish. Up. I'm going to go ahead and use my spoon to scrape some of that out. If you're baking it right away, I would suggest just making sure that everything gets nice and moist with that egg mixture. And then we are going to cover this with foil. It is going to be baked for about 45 minutes. Then you're going to take the foil off, sprinkle it with another cup of cheese, pop that back in the oven, and it will just be wonderful and delicious. Our breakfast enchiladas are out of the oven. Everything is cooked through. We're just going to top it with 1 small can, which is 4.25 ounces of sliced olives. You can use chopped, but I think the sliced are prettier. And I'm going to go ahead and put these on first, and then the cheese on top. You can do it the other way around. I like the cheese to kind of cover them up and help them warm through. And then we're going to sprinkle our last cup of grated cheddar cheese on top. You want to get that nice and even. Everybody gets a little bit of cheese on their enchilada. And we're just going to put this back in the oven for probably 5 minutes. Just to melt that cheese warm those olives through, and it will be ready to eat. Here are our breakfast enchiladas out of the oven with the cheese all melted, the olives warmed through, and ready to have for breakfast.